Live on Facebook, streaming, recording. We've got wireless mics. What else is going on?
Wireless lavaliers. We got this. We got cocktail books. We got the Old Boston
Got a cold beer.
by Jason Kelsey, right?
Yeah, Jason and Travis Kelsey Garage Beers. It's fresh from the streets of Disneyland. Darren Benjamin.
Yeah.
We're going to call this episode Vegas Day Drinkers episode 17 Hot Droid Names. Before we go into the subject matter, sir, how was your quick trip?
Oh, it was awesome. As always, I managed to
Cheers.
stop at Oga's Cantina. I don't know if anybody saw my post, but every time I'm there, I try to go to the cantina and have myself a beverage.
Yeah.
You know,
And what beverage did you have?
I had the Bad Motivator IPA.
Okay. Who's
That's
that made
my
by?
go-to. Way to put me on the spot, Chris.
It's just before noon. Day drinking commence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember. I'll have to circle back, but it's excellent. It's got a little kick. That's why I get it, because they charge way too much. I think it's $18 for a beer now,
Okay.
and they're going full on Vegas strip prices at Disneyland, unfortunately. So
Are they?
yes.
Let's talk highlights of the week, Mr. DB. Today is downtown, just off Fremont Street, is the great festival of beer from the people that are Motley Brews. Boyd Gaming grows for the first time in 20 years in Las Vegas. Wynn celebrates 20 years. We're going to talk the evolution of Las Vegas in modern times a little bit. This week we lost a Hollywood legend, Val Kilmer.
Ooh,
And we forgot to talk about Cheers last week, so we got to circle around with that.
circling around.
So we talked a little bit about Disney opening great festival of beers today is the Downtown Event Center. Have you been down there before?
I have not. I've been in the general area, but I know it's evolving. So
Yeah. So I think it's a space owned by the Circa people, and it's outside. It's green space, but it's obviously faux green space. But it's a festival ground type. So they have live music events down there. Obviously they have tastings.
what's it called? Motley Brew? Is that what they're calling it?
Motley Brew is the production team behind it, or the sponsors.
okay.
They kind of curate and everything and put it together.
Bring it all together. You asked me to look it up yesterday. I didn't even know what was going on, and as this town, as anybody from here knows, there's absolutely everything going on in this town every week. You couldn't even possibly keep up.
Yeah.
If you're from a small town, USA, like there might be a concert on the weekend, a couple concerts on the weekend. But here, any given Saturday, you can have 5-6 headliners all at the same time.
There's 24. I was looking up quickly this morning. There's 24 local breweries, beer bars, such as one of our favorite Silver Stamp bottle shops within all the nomenclature of that. And then there's also 24 outside of Nevada breweries, not just represented by per se in and around Reno, in and around Las Vegas. Some of your bigger players, so you're more of your featured names. They're doing events down there. They obviously have their tiered structure of your baseline, your mid, and then your VIP status, and that allows you certain end times. They're having like silent disco. They're having karaoke, like all these other happen chance stands. I was talking to my buddy Skip yesterday on the phone, and I said,
Skip being the brewmaster from...
No, not Skip Norfolk,
okay.
Up in Colorado Springs. Skip Graham. And I was just saying, to your point about things happening every weekend in Vegas, and really for any major city in this country now, is like, in spring and fall here, of which we're in the sweet spot of spring currently, any given weekend, there could be 2 or 3 beer festivals, or tastings or something. And you and I have been, subscribed to this world out here for 20 plus years, that if the vendors are asking you to come to every event, and not that they're not truly unique, but after a while it becomes a bit...
Well, the Vegas saying, right? The one that, like when you move here, all your friends come and see you.
Right.
So the Vegas saying is your true friends are the ones that never come and visit you, because they know that you have a real life.
Sure.
And you have to go to work every day.
Yes.
And, the friends that just love the fact that you live in Vegas show up on a Wednesday and they want you to party till 7 in the morning.
I mean, today I have to go to Walgreens before work. So I mean, I know that's not as sexy as going downtown and drinking beers all afternoon.
Yeah.
I think the early end times are like 2:00, and it opens to the general public at 3. And then they obviously have like different events.
Yeah, they have different tiered events. They had like just general admissions like $45.
Yeah.
And then it moves on up to like $175, which was sold out, by the way. the
Right.
VIP one. But when I looked on the website, it said that there's free samples of all the beers they have there.
Which is something I think that they've corrected over the years, because I think one of my gripes yesterday was, you go pay this entry fee, and then you go in and buy tokens, and you're like, well, what's the entry fee go towards? Because I've always believed kind of in like the Seas Candies or the Russell Stover, where, okay, I'm paying that entry fee, but it's an opportunity for said brewery to introduce a flavor, a profile, a tasting that's something you might not necessarily try.
And I go to Disney a lot, and this is kind of the point I'm trying to make. I buy an annual pass, which is expensive. It's $1,400 per year, but I go a number of times, and every time you go, it kind of reduces that overall cost for your admission, but from a standard ticket. But like these events nowadays, $45 just to get in, plus you go in there, and then all the vendors are charging for everything. It gets to be, you go to a couple $100 potentially.
Yeah.
And I remember, obviously it's just the times that we live in now, but you used to go to a fair, you'd walk right in and you'd pay for your tickets, you pay for food, whatever you want. Now you have to pay for admission on top of all that.
That's right.
And not only that, but these things are probably the same prices that you're going to get it anywhere else, and your experience, may vary. Like you're using outdoor bathrooms, you're you're eating on like picnic tables or trash cans, and it just kind of, it's fun, but it's not for me. I don't.
Yeah, I kind of say like about beer festivals since I've been out here. I mean, who doesn't like a nice beer garden in spring or fall? And I don't think Vegas truly has one of those. I mean,
not a true outdoor. Well, no, they do. Brewdog's like at Hollywood.
I mean, but the flora and fauna too, and the smell of Edelweiss or whatever. I mean, obviously Hofbrau has their faux one in the back room, and I get that they're placating to the heat in summer, but.
Boy, the one in Leavenworth, when I was up in Leavenworth over the winter, they have a fantastic one.
Oh, I'm sure.
And man, it would be great to be there right now drinking beers up in the mountains there.
Sweet spots.
Yeah, I was in the middle of winter. It was freezing, but I did have a mulled wine, which was pretty awesome.
Which is a hangover for sure.
Yes, 100%.
But I was telling Skip again, like I kind of believe like somebody wrote an ebook 15, 20 years ago in this category and in the category of like gaming bars. Because when I first moved into town, there must have been an architect that designed the same design of 5 different bars I walked into, and fundamentally it was like that elongated A space, or whatever, like how the old home plate used to be on Blue Diamond, and there's the one on South Las Vegas Boulevard, and then people just kind of played from the same book. It's kind of true for like some of the food festivals too, because like, if it's not the Indian Cultural Festival, it's coming up at San Gennaro Festival. Or, whatever. And it's like, what are you really getting for that? And one of the critiques when I was doing some information on the beer festivals across the country, and for that matter, across the world yesterday is, you're not necessarily gaining the knowledge anymore about these new beers. I mean, everything's not just Blue Moon or Lagunitas IPA or, you had what you have Big Dogs did last month for, the guys down and girls down at Silver Stamp. They did Lady and the Stamp as an homage for their 4th year celebration. But it's the people pouring the beers now. I mean, some the brewers are on site, but usually they use 3rd-party people that are just like, here's a beer.
Yeah, here you go.
Can you tell me anything about it?
The typical casting company brings in the girls with the tight tops, and here you go, have fun, bye.
Yeah, are you happy?
Yes. Like if you've ever been into Lee's on a Sunday afternoon.
Sure, yeah.
There's like shot girls everywhere. They give you a little teeny 1/4 ounce shot, and they're like, here you go.
Yeah, can you tell me about this whiskey? Oh my God, I thought it was vodka.
Hopefully they're a little bit more No, before we change subjects, I had messaged you yesterday because on the list of breweries there was the Silver Stamp, which is probably one of your favorite bars in town, if not favorite.
Sure.
They were listed on as a brewer, but everything said TBD, to be determined.
Right.
So are they getting into the brewing business or not?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they have the space there. Now, maybe they've taken on an investor and, it's a phone call to Andrew or Rose to talk about in the future. But obviously they, from said space where the event center is to Silver Stamp on a nice day, which it seems to be outside, a short walk, So maybe just generating more.
If you're watching live and you're going to go and you find out about it and you're going to go ask them.
Yeah, please do. Get back to us. Comment at info@ddclub.vegas, which we haven't talked about recently. You said girls pouring drinks. It's obviously most people at said booths. It's the Lees of the world, the Total Wine and Spirits. You don't see too many quote unquote male models. It was funny because periodically at the airport, I mean, I always look at the credit card before I run it, and I look at the name, and it's like sometimes I'm sure you still see it too, like the Please CID, and they always seem to be respectful of that. You actually look to see if the card is signed.
Yeah.
A little game I play with myself, I have over the years, is hot girls' names. And, you know, sometimes if you see an attractive woman or not, if like, okay, that matches. And then like, if there's just a certain name that you associate, like automatically that you just always de facto, like, she's got to be beautiful.
Like the Serper rule, like they're named after a car or
Correct.
a type of
correct
animal, a wild animal.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah.
I don't know what the wild animal would be.
What would my stripper name be? Crystal Grant. You know. So no, I'm sorry, Sparkles Grant, because I had my first pet was a guinea pig that didn't go too well.
It didn't go, no.
But it was named Sparkles, and the street I lived on was Grant. I think that was the rule. But like,
I think, well, my nickname at the pub was always Dazzle, so I'm sure I'd get that razzle dazzle going on.
Sparkle Dazzle. I mean, I think you can't go wrong with the Heidi.
Heidi? Well, you know, you're partial to the German.
No, I mean, I definitely reflect upon the European perspective.
Yes.
You know, and then like, you know, but what triggered this thought as I was putting together ideas for this week's podcast is she was a very nice woman. She wasn't unattractive at all, but she was European, and her name was Olga.
Olga.
So Olga can go one of two ways. It can go beautiful Russian socialite.
That's true.
Or it could be Broomhilda, you know, Quasimodo.
Oh, no. Me and my buddy that I used to do my former podcast with, he used to always say, you know, you never see a beautiful older Russian woman. You only see young, hot Russian women, and then old. He's like, he formulated that they disappear into the workforce for like 20 years, and then they come out the other end just ruined.
Yeah.
So
I did a picture of Stella, my now 12-year-old or 13-year-old Belgian Malinois, and I put a handkerchief bib on her head a couple of years ago, and she was Kosovo Stella. So
Kosovo Stella, yes, I remember.
Older in the workplace. So that was just a silly fun thing.
She is a distinguished lady.
She was sitting next to me last night while I was fading off watching various bits on YouTube.
Now, if you follow Chris on Facebook, he posts his dogs all the time. But KC currently is the animal of the home, and he will day drink with you if you let him.
Oh, I had a very fanatical New Belgium Ranger sitting next to me last night, and he was all about to sniff. So he was happy.
He's not allowed to drink, but if you happen to spill it or leave it alone for a second, it will get drunk.
Yeah, do not call animal control on me. I'm not giving my dogs alcohol.
No, absolutely not.
But yeah, he is very much aware, and if it's in the neighborhood, he's going to smell it. But yeah, I just thought,
I learned it from you, Dad.
I wanted to sniff. But yeah, I just had that yesterday, and there was delays, so I was just kind of like flipping credit cards, and we weren't turning a lot of tables, so I just kind of had that thought, and so throw in the 2 cents.
Moving on,
Void Gaming Group broke ground this week. Out in Lake Mead, out in Henderson, I guess there's a new master plan community out there, but for the first time in 20 years, they're broken ground on what they're going to call Cadence Crossing.
Really?
Which is initially going to be just a casino, and then they're going to add a hotel component later in the next couple of years, but due to open sometime in the middle of 2026.
Adjacent to Lake Las Vegas?
I think out in that area. I mean,
really?
I think they're building this casino where they're supposed to be building 20 or 30,000 new homes out there. It's been a minute since we've been out there. I've been out there.
Weird. That's the first I'm hearing of it. Oh, they must see the demand coming.
That's why we talk.
That's exactly why we talk.
Imagine people talking.
Boyd being the casino company that owns.
They own Orleans. Yeah, they own Gold Coast. Yeah,
Gold Coast. Yeah. Just so people know.
So they've done okay in the Vegas landscape over the years.
Yeah.
Other local owners that now live in Florida. The Wynn Casino celebrated 20 years this week.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what they did for their day one employees?
No, what'd they do?
Well, they had a gala event sometime midweek at Allegiant, where it looked to be, I don't know how many people there were actually there, but it looked to fill the whole of the stadium floor. So it wasn't 3 people.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
there's quite a few. They take care of their employees. They do, however, I think they just finally lost their last appeal because I don't know. For those of you who might not know, the day one employees they would pull their tips and they would give the managers tips, and the union was like, no, absolutely not, or not the union, but the employees were like, no, that's not the way it works. So you're a manager, you don't get tipped. Went to a lawsuit, and it's been going on for almost 20 years, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, but I think they refused to see it.
yeah,
So I think that's the end of it. That was the final appeal. Even after Steve Wynn has been fired from the company for what, five years now?
yeah, yeah. And I believe he's now residing in Florida, where he can eternally work on his tan even more so.
You know what? Despite what he did, I miss his presence on the strip because I think that he was an innovator and he was a disruptor, and as much as I
A visionary.
definitely a visionary. One of the final plans he had was with the Wynn, they were going to remove the golf course and they were going to turn it into a lake, and they were going to have a whole boardwalk with water sports and restaurants and bars. And I think that would have been really, really cool, and it would have been very nice. But unfortunately, when they fired him, the executives got all stale and didn't want to invest, and like, a bunch of white guys, let's play golf.
Yeah.
So, I think it was a real missed opportunity, and it is what it is.
Well, I mean, he owned the whole north end of the strip there for a while. I mean, from Mirage to TI to Bellagio to Wynn, started to do it again. I mean, for longer than that, right? Because he started downtown.
And it's probably still the premier, the Encore, the premier hotel
sure.
on the strip. I've stayed there a couple times, and it's beautiful.
Sure. And did you see? In addition to the Grand Gala, the dinner event, it was played to by Pitbull, which I wouldn't necessarily associate Pitbull with Wynn staff, but
hey, whatever.
Hey, why not? But a bigger thing that's out there is all the day one employees, they got $10,000 in Wynn stock.
Oh, wow.
As a thank you.
Impressive.
So now we're not going to talk too much about stock this week because I know,
Needless to say, I had a couple drinks last night, not because just because I looked at my 401k. Anyway.
But that was Wynn as far as the company, but then as they continue to evolve and kind of always get like the last couple of years, you look
was
down
that
there.
A fun to where we went last week?
Exactly.
Golf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last night, I think one night only, they had German electronica band Kraftwerk play at the Encore Theater.
Really?
Do you remember Kraftwerk?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
I don't remember anything they did, but
Autobahn.
Oh yeah. Okay.
2 German guys, I think from Dusseldorf, that started way back in the 70s, that affected new wave music, industrial, modern electronic. I mean, Depeche Mode, New Order, OMD, Nine Inch Nails, did a one-off show. And I just kind of, when I was studying some things, I'm like, this completely makes no sense at all for Wynn.
Yeah.
But it makes all the sense
in the world.
Because those guys have both got to be, if not well into their 60s at this point, close into their 70s. And, they've just, a generation of music they've influenced with like that, that synthesizer, that drum beat, whatever. So it's just like strange, but cool.
Awesome. I'm going to have to go down the rabbit hole after you leave.
Yeah. And more recently, you had New Edition that last year and this year did a little like residency there, Lionel Richie. So as far as musical landscapes, they're kind of jumping all over the board,
Yeah.
Win-win. That's that segment of it. Evolution of Vegas. We live in the desert Southwest. I was reading that over the next month that the 3-year project, the Tropicana project, is starting to come to a close.
Awesome.
Or thus subsequently open. So as the on-ramps kind of come back online.
Yeah.
I think in the middle of the month that the northbound exiting the 15 to like kind of feed you right into T-Mobile as the NHL playoff starts.
Yeah.
Should be open. We talked about this the other day in a different part of town. The Jones overpass down off of Blue Diamond and Jones is now open. Mm-hmm. So giving, people from your neck of the woods down here.
You alleviate some of that rainbow.
Yeah. Some of that rainbow traffic.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like what I was thinking about, interesting as, as much as we want to bash on Vegas sometimes for prices on the strip and cocktail prices and woe is me and this is wrong and traffic cones. where it's not just a casino town anymore. It's continuing to evolve. Again, not a play on words from last word. But in addition to that, I was also reading that, something that you and I see in the neighborhood where we're kind of popping around to some of our favorite local haunts. I think Zooks is finally supposed to have kind of a commercial offering to the public, mostly strip first
Okay.
for rideshare,
Yeah.
very quickly, but going out into the neighborhood soon too. You've seen those?
Yeah, of course. They're the driverless cars. There's nobody in there at all.
Right.
So they're completely autonomous. There's not even a steering wheel in there.
Correct. They call them carriages.
Yeah, they're carriages. I was listening to a podcast this week, and they were talking about how far ahead that company is over Lyft, but Uber also. So Zoox is owned by Google,
Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah. It was acquired by Amazon. I want to say 2019 or 2020. They first had a footprint here around the same time. I mean, they've basically just been taking modified Toyota Highlanders for like the last several years with cameras all over them, filming, mapping street by street, and aggregating the information and to feed the.
Well, I will say
brand.
that I own a Tesla, and if you're at all like fearful of getting into some kind of vehicle that's autonomous, they've done, I think, something over like 300,000 hours total of unmanned rides.
Yeah.
And my car literally, like we talked about earlier, I went to Disneyland. My car drove me all the way there and all the way back.
He wasn't even
260 miles.
Okay.
And so if you love day drinking, once again, this is a Vegas Day Drinkers podcast, don't be afraid to get in one of those, because you're going to do yourself a favor and alleviate the chance of getting a DUI. And it's just going to make the world a little bit easier to get around, I think.
And I was watching the CNET video yesterday, and this reporter was here a few months ago, and like you see them all the time because it's in our wheelhouses. Their warehouse here, I mean, they have a footprint in San Francisco, but their main market right now is Vegas.
Well, they have San Francisco, Arizona, Phoenix, right? And now Vegas?
Not from my reading, it was San Francisco here, Austin coming, Miami coming.
Gotcha.
But if you drive up and down adjacent to the 215 on the south side of town Beltway, Sunset in between Rainbow and Jones, I mean, you see those things, their warehouses back there.
The real question that we need to answer, Chris, and I don't know the answer to this, is can you bring a cocktail in that thing with you?
It's a very good question.
Because there's no driver and there's no steering wheel.
I did sign up for the newsletter to try and, like, once they start offering to the public, they're going to offer like advanced screenings, if you will.
So will it use AI to see that if you have a drink in your hand and you won't let you in, or
You would think.
Just interesting. It'd be fun to find out.
Yeah.
I wish that legally you're not allowed to drink and drive, but even with the Tesla. But like I said, this thing.
But again,
takes you. It will leave my house, drive me all the way there. It'll stop at the charging points it needs to. All I have to do is get out and plug it in, and it'll continue on the destination. It's pretty awesome.
But again, I guess it's coding, right, too, because again, legally, if you have a livery service, you have a limousine, or some sort of transportation component, you can have beverages because you're not driving.
So, like, the car logs everything. So, I mean, I'm speaking of like DUI territory here. If the car has logged that you are on autonomous driving and you're intoxicated, should you not be able to say the car was driving me rather than get a DUI? I think that's fair, because if you're paying for the service and it logs that you're not driving and you haven't touched the wheel, why should you? Yeah. You're doing the responsible thing. The car is smart enough to get you there. And obviously, if they're willing to allow a service where there's nobody in the vehicle, like Zooks.
Or if you take a 7-Eleven sippy cup, I've never done that before. How can they determine what's inside? What's inside said beverage?
Yeah, exactly.
Because unless they just outright say no food and beverage.
Yeah.
But then you again need to go further, I guess, if they don't do that because they want a certain traction.
Speaking of getting pulled over, the other day, Chris, I got pulled over in the morning, and I was just freaking daydreaming, and I was speeding like 15 over the speed limit, and the guy pulled me over, and I was like, yeah, like last thing I need is a ticket. I was just daydreaming, and I don't know what happened. Anyway, he was super nice. He came back with my ID, and he's like, hey, you still work at McMullen's? And I was like, No, I had to give it up. I had to move over to the airport, unfortunately. But I love those guys. I still go in there all the time. And he's like, "Oh, I had my graduation party there. Appreciate it." And I was like, "He's like, I'm just gonna give you a warning." And I'm like, "It pays to work at
So
McDonald's."
what was it? What was the initial attraction?
I was going 17 over. I was going 52 and a 35.
Okay.
And I just, you've seen me. I've got a lead foot. My car, when I'm driving my car, when I'm not letting it drive me,
right.
It
Okay.
it goes a little faster than it should, unfortunately.
Which is a segue to Darren's EP summer release this week is Daydream and Day Drinking.
Yeah.
So
Next week's episode.
Next week's episode.
Yeah.
We, like I said earlier, we forgot to talk about Cheers last week.
Yep.
So let's talk about it now. We're episode 10, season 1, called Endless Slumper. We see another actor we more readily recognize now in 2025 than we did in 1983.
He's a lot more famous than he was then.
Christopher McDonald, better known
as Roger Castillo from the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Yesterday's Enterprise.
Oh, God, if it's
Very
not
famous.
a show without a Star Trek reference. Or for most of us out there that like our penises, Happy Gilmore. I'm sorry, Shooter McGavin.
Oh, yeah. He was in that movie, Happy Gilmore. I forgot about that.
Shooter McGavin, Christopher McDonald, who was a young Turk pitcher for the Boston Red Sox and was seeking out some information from retiree Sam Mayday Malone. And Sam gave him his good luck charm, which happened to be the bottle cap, I believe, from the last beer he ever drank. Yep. Before he went sober. So
something you know what, like, did Sam ever fall off the wagon in the show? I don't even remember. He did once.
Well, that's why we're revisiting, right? Because I don't remember. And obviously we have 13 seasons to go through.
Yeah, that's a lot of podcast episodes. Do you think we're going to make it?
I think so. We're going to work on some of this.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have a set eventually, and we're going to, but life, and, I don't have all the time in the world.
But when, Darren approached me about this, he's like, what did you tell me that your guy said?
You know what? You just have to do it. You just have to put your head on and do it.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. So, yes, we don't look the most professional, but every day we're learning, and we're getting there. And hopefully someday when you look back, you'll be like, those season 1 episodes look like garbage, guys.
Yeah, and I want to hear that. And Christ, we already have wireless mics. Look at that. Yeah. Coming along. So
we're moving in the right direction. I think.
Shoestring budget with big hopes. Next thing you know, Penn and Teller. No. But a great episode.
Well, eventually what we'd like to do is be hanging out with you in the bars.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of this.
Yeah, there's bigger ideas in play here, but this is just part of the curated content.
And we are going to continue to grow. So if you have any thoughts or you'd like us to do something, like I mentioned to Chris, I think we're going to start incorporating different kind of things. So hopefully we'll do that, and we'll continue growing.
And comment on the Facebook page. We're out there on all the social mediums. Again, we do have day jobs also. So info@ddclub.vegas if you have a question or there's something that you want to hear that 2 bartenders with 20 plus years experience in Las Vegas each can possibly answer a different way.
20, Chris.
What?
30.
Oh, well. Yeah,
30.
Sorry. Sunshine.
And you know what? I'm still learning things every day, which is crazy, which is a beautiful thing. Because if you stop learning, you've given up.
So on that point, before we get to the last subject of the week, you were just showing me a little video before we went streaming live recording.
Oh yeah,
from one of your bartender highlights of story of the
it's a gentleman. I can't remember his name now. I had it now. I'll repost it in the group. But we're talking about Tom Collins, and it's kind of like an April Fool's thing. But the history of Tom Collins, I did not know. In the 1870s or late 1860s, 1870s, the drink became popular. And it was kind of a joke. What was the joke? It was like, hey, there's a guy named John Collins. Mm-hmm. He's making fun of you and your bloke, walking down the street. And he's like, where the hell is this guy? I'm going to give him some fisticuffs. And the guy would be like, well, he's over here in the pub. And so the guy would walk in and be like, hey, where's this John Collins fella? Well, I want to rough him up. I heard he was talking crap about me. And it was an inside joke. And the bartender would make the drink for Tom Collins.
Yeah.
And became, it was in London, pubs in London, and the news of it went worldwide back in the 1870s, which was kind of crazy. And hence that's why we have
come here, hey, come here, see?
That's why we have the Tom Collins glass, which is this long, skinny glass. It's what, like a 12-ounce glass?
I bet you that would be, if it doesn't exist, and this might be an Amazon search later today, because like there's a lot of drinks that were created in, I mean, obviously there's more drinks today that have been created in New York, but drinks back in, the early 20th century, 19th century that were created in Paris or London, that these stories that we kind of...
like during the Prohibition, a lot of well, no, it wasn't Prohibition. It was pre-Prohibition in France.
Yeah.
A lot of the bartenders, that were making their money in the United States moved over there.
Well, and you had like Harry's New York Bar, yeah, exactly, where like Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald, like just kind of like some of these stories that we've grazed over the years and probably heard that we probably need to revisit. But to your point, that John Collins bartenderman, Spitchitterman, was named John Collins, but it was using Old Tom Gin. So there was confusion and it became Tom Collins.
Yes. And if you don't know, it's a Tom Gin. Typically most people have Old Tom Gin, but typically most people have London Dry Gin, which is fine. But just fresh lemon juice, simple syrup, gin, stir it, top it with ice and soda, and that's it. It's a delicious summertime drink. And as we are entering the warmer part of the season or the year, maybe try one if you haven't before.
Yeah. Last up, Hollywood legend this week on the 1st of April, not an April Fool's joke, Val Kilmer passed away.
That's a bummer.
65 years old. I mean, had throat cancer for like at least acknowledged the last decade.
Yeah.
And what I read is pneumonia knocked him out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's always complications from something else.
Sure.
But unfortunately.
So as the world talks about Val Kilmer, and we digress, what was your favorite Val Kilmer film?
Oh, by far, Willow, Madmartigan. That character, like, he was as cool to Harrison Ford's Han Solo to me. And, like, he will always be, like, my runner-up to one of the coolest characters of all time, And what Harrison Ford had too, which was, Indiana Jones and Han Solo, Madmartigan would be my number 3, 100%.
Did you know, as you were driving back from Disney Thursday night, up until that point in history, Survey had not seen the original Top Gun?
Really?
Remedied.
What? That's good. Thank God for that.
We fixed it Thursday night. So.
And was the highlight the volleyball game?
She was snoozing during that.
Did you knock her out so she wouldn't see all those odd bodies playing volleyball on the beach?
You say either, I say either. But we did go up for a nightcap with Joey, and I did play Kenny Loggins hanging with the boys. And so full circle. But
that's funny.
Obviously Top Gun's, it was paramount. But the one I quirkily remember him for was the remake on the motion picture level was The Saint.
The Saint?
Simon Templar.
Simon Templar.
With Elizabeth Shue, early 90s, kind of post-Cold War. Just had, again, that gravitation I go back to, that European where he takes on the personas of different saints and is the Robin Hood, if you will, of things.
Yeah.
And then voiced over by the original saint, Roger Moore.
Roger Moore, yep. And also, I think most people would say probably Heat with Robert De Niro.
Oh, yeah.
And Al Pacino.
I mean, his role was obviously not as prevalent as Pacino or De Niro. Thank you, sir. But I mean, that firefight scene downtown Los Angeles is probably one of the best in cinematic history. Yeah,
I remember hearing that the cops would use that as a training video, like what to do in certain circumstances. As a matter of fact, there was an actual shootout in LA that the guy emulated those characters. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
Michael Mann, who directed that film, and I maybe wrote it, actually wrote Heat 2 a couple years ago and released it as a published book, which I purchased but have not read. And I don't know if they ever plan on making it into a movie because of the age of the characters now, that subsequently some of the passing.
Recast them. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, they do it with everything. Like Val Kilmer was Batman. How many people played Batman?
Val Kilmer was Doc Holliday.
Val Kilmer was also... I love his Batman. I really do. I liked it better than George Clooney's. Yeah. So they would put him, not the best movies. Schumacher's Batman movies were not that good.
I don't think anybody. I don't even think George says that in his filmography that Batman was up there. I mean, you got to go Michael Keaton before him, or I mean Christian Bale after. Now I've kind of fallen off with some of the more recent ones with like Ben Affleck and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, yeah, definitely more so than George Clooney.
yeah. Just recast him. But anyway, yeah, Val Kilmer will be missed.
He will be. So I think that's a good wrap up of this week's episode 17, Hot Droid Names.
Hot droid names. Oh, speaking of hot droid names, it's my new party hat. Check it out, guys.
Some call it a popcorn bowl. Some call it black helicopters. Party hat.
This is when I have too many garage beers.
So if you take hot names, possibly like Olga, and mix it with a droid, you have hot droid names.
That's right.
Thanks for checking us out, everybody. Don't forget to sip, socialize, shine. Check us out on social. Those of you who have been listening, we appreciate it. Those of you who haven't, this is a message into the future. Keep listening.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, out there.
All right, that's good enough.